So I looked on our social media profile,
Okay.
and someone followed us, and I was like, "Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Let's see who's following us. I don't know this person."
Okay.
And I clicked on their page, just trying to, get
Yeah.
a sense of our demo.
Yeah.
And the guy's post said, "I've been hacked. If I followed you, disregard."
Okay. So the Russian bots have already picked up on us.
That's right.
That's what you're saying.
That's right.
Yeah.
But hey, he followed.
He did.
Mm-hmm.
He did.
That's right.
Yeah. Man, what's happening? I was out last week.
You were out.
I was out
That's
last
right.
week.
Now where'd you go?
You're out next week.
I'm out next week, but where'd you go?
Let's see. So I went to kids were on spring break.
Okay.
And it just so happened our annual conference, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services has an annual conference, and this year was in New Orleans. So we took a pretty big group. I think about 40 of us went down there to the conference, had a good time, and then picked up the kids from the in-laws, and then went to Houston for 3 or 4 days. So yeah.
So a little work, a little pleasure.
Work, a little pleasure. Went to the Rockets Wizards game. It was Harry Potter night. It was great. Good experience.
Wow.
Other than the fact the game started like 7:30, so by halftime my kids were like,
Done.
they're not huge into sports.
Uh-huh.
My oldest is like, before the game starts, she's like, so are these guys good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, well,
So what's a Harry Potter night at NBA? People
man,
dressing
they had
up
so they had some trivia at the timeouts.
Okay.
Some trivia. A lot of
They
people
put a lot of work in.
A lot of people dressed up. You could have got a special scarf that they had made with the Rockets, but it looked like you were, part of one of the houses or schools or whatever it's called.
Right. Yeah.
Then at halftime, they also had some, like local dance teams came and did some dances. They were dressed as, wizards, and Baltimore made an appearance.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
At halftime, or
Yeah, this was during one of the dance routines. It was the good guys against the bad guys. Pretty cool.
was he doing like the trampoline dunks?
No, but they did have a Quidditch game. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, during halftime.
During halftime.
Quidditch game.
And these are probably like real teams, like
They
real rec
look-
league teams, probably.
Yeah, I mean they look like like high schoolers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen people LARPing? Have you ever seen that? It's what it made me think about that.
No.
Like live action role playing. Have you ever seen?
Okay.
So I was
Yes.
driving.
Well, so
yeah.
they do that with that board game, like Dungeons and Dragons.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's really phenomenal to see
Okay.
out in the wild.
Okay.
See
LARPing.
these. Yeah, they're
Okay.
casting spells and doing
Okay.
things to people. Yeah. So maybe something we could start here locally since we don't have a league.
Yeah.
We could.
Is Harry Potter really just a big scheme to get nerds to exercise? Is that really what it is?
Listen, there's a lot of fans. You're going to
Quidditch.
offend this fan base. Listen, we're done. You offend this fan base, we're done, buddy.
Like, my son, who's not athletic and has nothing to do with sports,
Loves Harry Potter.
loves Harry Potter.
Right.
If I was gonna say, hey, let's go play some Quidditch, he would do it. He would do it.
Let's go play some Quidditch. Genius. That's right.
That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
Good.
Wow. So you had a good, had a
so
good
let's
vacation.
talk about the Berkshire Hathaway conference.
How about the
right?
Berkshire Conference?
So there's probably, I don't know how many. It's at the convention center. If I had to guess how many people show up, 7,000 people. It's all
Wow.
it's worldwide.
All of the
brokers.
Berkshire-
from international.
Yeah.
And of course they have morning sessions, big to do speeches from the higher ups, but then a lot of it's recognition, which can drag on. It's the same companies getting recognized for being big and great. Last year we actually got recognized. We were in the top 10 last year.
Top 10 of what?
Didn't happen this year. That was in units closed.
Units closed.
Out of the 10, we were number 9 out of 10 offices.
Now, do they
units
break that
closed.
down into different sized markets? I mean, because
They do some. This was just overall units closed. And for us, you go to some of these brokerages that are in California. My buddy runs the office that's like in 30A. Well, to get the volume we have to get here, we have to sell like 10 times more houses, right?
Right.
So our volume is never even going to compete. Like their volume as just a brokerage in a market is more than our whole market will sell in volume. So so that's just kind of, but units closed, you know.
So that's impressive.
Yeah, a whole lot of $30,000 low income rentals add up, you know.
Turning them.
So, anyways, one of the best things they do is they know how to like throw some parties. Okay, so first night at the conference, they always have the Revel, which is like just a huge, massive party. So this one was at this place called the Sawmill, right across from the convention center. They rented out, then they shut down a couple streets and rented out one of the parks, the like public parks with benches. They had like 3 or 4 bands playing, Cafe Du Monde food truck, Drago's food truck, and it's just all you can eat, drink, just a good time.
Wow.
Then the last night, the second night, they always have a music artist perform.
Bruno Mars.
This year it was Christina Aguilera.
No way.
Christina Aguilera.
Wow. Genie in the bottle.
Yes. So, hey, the corporate gigs are the way to go.
Right.
Because
guaranteed
I'm
cash.
sitting here, first of all, the concert's an hour long, maybe an hour and 10 minutes.
Right.
But I'm thinking of her stage time, 20 minutes. She had her dancers and it was a glorified cover band.
Right.
And then she came out and sang her like 7 hit songs.
And that was it.
And then in between, they were doing dancing and backup singers were singing. Yeah, she would just walk off, come back, sing the song, walk off.
So
Did a little research.
Okay.
How much, what's the price tag on having Christina Aguilera come do a 1-hour corporate event?
Well, what did Rihanna get paid the other day? It was some insane number. She did something in India. So who knows what, 800,000. What do you think?
Yeah, so the range is $750,000 to $1 million.
There you go.
For an hour.
There you go.
Yeah, so.
Okay. And that's, well, look, she's got a lot of production expenses. She's got dancers.
But they don't. I mean, they do, but they don't. Like, the production is already set up for the conference. They don't come and bring their own stuff. Oh. I learned this last year at Vegas. One Republic was the concert. And Brent Hammett, he did a lot of the visual designs for some of their songs that play. And so he was like, yeah, hey, on these songs, look for my stuff. Well, they didn't have the screens. Like, they just had One Republic on the screen,
right,
and then live footage of them performing. They didn't have all the cool stuff because it's just a corporate gig.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of
lots of money, and they don't have a lot of expenses in it.
Yeah.
You just need a couple
She didn't do any outfit changes.
No outfit changes.
Same outfit.
You're kidding.
And I would imagine, get some outfit changes.
Well, for $750,000, I think I could pack an extra suitcase. What do you think?
That's what I was thinking.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow, I really missed the boat.
So you get you 5 or 6 hit songs.
That's all it takes.
Corporate gigs.
There you go.
The rest of your career.
Wow. So great concert.
Yeah.
It's a good concert. Then what else?
It sounded good. Yeah, it sounded good.
Yeah.
Then it's over. Yeah.
But you had some keynote speakers.
Oh yeah. I had some. I really and I encourage my agents and really anybody. Anytime we go to conferences, the real meat is going to be in the breakouts, right? Because you're really hearing, especially at a conference like that, the panels are made up of your peers, and so you're getting to hear other CEOs talking. Maybe they have different size companies. You're hearing different people. My marketing director or my recruiter, right? They get to go and hear other recruiters and other marketing, and so pulling stuff back. So, yeah, good, very good stuff. So,
now there was one in particular.
Yeah,
that,
are we getting into it?
I think so.
You go to conferences?
I do.
Yeah.
We have quite a few trade shows.
Those are more trade show, but do they like give you any kind of do you get stuff to take back, or is it just like products?
Yes, normally at every trade show that I go to, there will be a buying opportunity, and then there's also education. So those are usually combined along with the social events. Now, our industry is not quite as glamorous as Berkshire Hathaway, our concerts look more like maybe Kansas or something, the Three Dog Night, something like that.
Hey, so here's what I'm trying to think through. Next year, they announced the next year's location, right? So up into this point, they've always been in the South, right? We've done San Antonio, Louisville, Nashville, right? This year, Las Vegas, been there several times for this conference. Next year, Seattle.
Okay. There you go.
Then I'm thinking, well, what band are they? I mean, what band would you like to see? What alternative grunge band would play for $750,000?
Probably most of them. At this point, probably most of them.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe a little Soundgarden.
There you go.
Do they have enough hits?
There you
Probably
go.
not. Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam might be a little. I don't know if they'd play for that.
I don't think they do it.
Yeah, they don't even sell tickets or whatever. They just stop performing altogether.
Right. Yeah, I don't think you're getting Pearl Jam.
I heard that the people that went and saw, they just did an album and did a little tour or something like that.
They got an album coming out. They're about to hit
they
the
were
road.
in Fort Worth, and we had people go and they're like, they didn't play a single song anybody knew.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like they do their own thing. Mm-hmm. Which, hey, hats off to them.
That's right. Artists.
Okay? True artists.
That's right. Artists.
So
now
they're
you
not
can
selling their soul,
but you pay $300, and they get to make art.
Yes.
That's what we call a win-win.
Yes. Yeah. So I did go to one breakout that I thought was really good. See, I have notes on here. This is the CEO of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Fox and Roach. Okay. And they cover Pennsylvania, Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland. I think that's the 4 states they're kind of over. So they're massive.
It's a
right?
big.
And they haven't always been with Berkshire Hathaway. I think they were independent. They joined the franchise several years ago. But they have, we're in 2 markets here in Louisiana, and we have 140 agents. They have 4,500 agents.
Wow.
So they're pretty
Big shop.
Big operation. Mm-hmm. And so really his main talk, and his name is Larry Flick, and I've heard him talk before, but he's the CEO. And his main talk was about what changes they had made in their company to offset the recession we're in. If we're not calling it that, but whatever, the crappy economy we're in. And so he was just talking through the changes they made, very informative stuff. And then he just tagged at the very end. He said, in my last 5 minutes, I'm going to share my guiding leadership principles. So I thought that'd be a good thing to talk about. And I sent you a list.
I love it.
Did you read through them?
Twice.
Cool. Mm-hmm. So here was his first one. And, and when I read through them, I heard him, me and Larry probably read some of the same books because some of these I've heard before. So his first leadership philosophy, this is personal leadership philosophy. It's always we and never me.
Mm. So when you hear always we, never me,
Yep.
What does that mean to you?
Always we and never me. I would say, I would say that the leader is giving credit on a simple level. The leader is giving credit to his whole team, not just taking all the credit for himself.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so moving on. No,
what do you think? What do you take from that?
So it's just a fact, right?
Okay.
It's just a fact. If you've got any kind of organization where there's multiple people that are engaged in whatever the mission is, whatever the process is, it is so foolish to think that as the leader that you are the chief glory maker in the business, that it all comes down to your brilliance. It all comes down to, your vision, your tactics. At the end of the day, it's just a fact, right? It's just a fact that there's other people involved, and curating a spirit where we're all trying to win and we all have a common goal. Mm-hmm. We're all working towards something. It's just a posture of the heart to acknowledge that it's not just me, that there's more stakeholders here than just the leader, than just the owner, than just the manager.
Yep.
And that goes all the way through the organization. So that posture should extend from the highest part of the hierarchy to the lowest person on the totem pole, where we are all engaged in this, and it takes everybody. So I think that's really well said.
So I guess when you talk about that needs to be the culture of an organization, what practical steps are there to instill that, right? And and I say this about culture all the time, right? The bigger the ship becomes, the harder it is to turn.
Correct.
Right? And so it's very difficult, especially someone like me who likes to have quick results and likes to see things pay off right away. And I'm actually have a manager who's doing a great job, but that's his biggest frustration as well, is he's like, I don't see fruit from this right away. And so he gets discouraged. And I'm like, well, if we're changing culture, I was telling somebody the other day, I was like, in my trade companies, we're in this big facility, and there's 4 companies, 5 divisions in this one facility, and they're all showing up. So 30, 40 people are showing up every day, and they're not just bringing, their attitude at the moment. They're bringing the baggage of 30, 40, 50 years, right, of trauma, unhealthiness, not even to mention, a kid throwing up in your car, taking them to school that morning, right? Mm-hmm. They're all showing up at one location, and we're trying to keep a positive culture, right? Well, how often are all 40 people showing up going to be in a good spirits, right? Mm-hmm. So then I'm like, so it's easy to get very discouraged by seeing that. And so then it's like, well, I know we're a little bit off topic, but this is just how to keep the pace with culture, or how to. So with this guy, I'm just like, hey, look, let's think back to 6 months ago. Are we in a better place than we were 6 months ago, right? And it's like, well, yes, we are. And so it's like, it's just very incremental. You have to look at very incremental steps to not get discouraged, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that leads me back to culture. How do you have this culture of it's we, not me, right? There's not a rock star, or some people might even call this a meritocracy, right? Mm-hmm. That there's not just, one person that's above everybody else, but we're all in this together.
Yeah. So I think visibility is the most important thing. What I mean by visibility is that the leader is visible, demonstrating and modeling this posture of we, not just me.
Yep.
Someone who's willing to do whatever it takes to meet the day's challenges. It's tough because, as you get a little bit bigger, you can't always do the same things you always did. Yeah. And you have people to take care of things. And I fight the instinct all the time where, I might know the answer to the problem. And I was just dealing with a manager this week, and he said, well, they'll figure it out. And in my mind, I'm thinking, the answer. You can save them 4 days worth of work. Just give them the answer. And so we're kind of having this kind of internal discussion about what's the right way to help, the team who has a problem, they have an issue. And for me, my general tendency is if I can help you, I want to be able to help you. Yeah. I want to be able to jump in and help. But that can also create,
now they're going to run to you every time they have a problem.
Correct.
And they're not solving problems on their own.
It's balancing that fine line. I once had a roundtable discussion where, it would give me pride. It still gives me pride to clean the bathrooms. Every time I go into the bathroom, I'm cleaning that joker up. Yeah. And somebody made the point, because I'm feeling so good, like, hey, look at me, I'm like a servant leader. I'm wiping down those countertops. Yeah. And the moderator said, that's great that you do that, but do you have a problem with your systems? Because why isn't the bathroom clean? Yeah. And I was thinking, well, I like to do it. I'm good. So I think modeling and visibility is key. I think that we have to be careful in that of becoming, you can't become the role. Sure. Yeah. But how do you demonstrate to everyone that, hey, I'm in this with you, I'm for you, and we are doing this together. Yeah. So point number one turns out to be a fact, but also a little bit of a nuanced point in how you drive that.
Well, so your operation, you have 2 locations, about to have a third.
Correct.
So do you have is there ever a point when the whole company is together, all locations in the company?
Maybe once a year.
Once a year. Right. Okay. And so then let's talk about one location. Okay. Your primary location that you're at every day. How often are all the people in that location together?
An additional time or two during the year.
Okay. And so is it so then how are you, what's your main way of communicating to the whole organization?
So we use, primarily it's through managers, and granted we're not massive, so it's pretty easy to get word around, to everybody, all the folks during the day. But if we talked about the visibility piece, this was another conversation with the manager yesterday where he had someone basically saying, I don't think we should have to do this. And the store leader kind of stepped up and said, actually, yes, this is part of what we do. We're a team here, and we work together as a team. So it made me feel very good that the store leader was trying to be visible and be a model of demonstrating what we're talking about, where, hey, he yes, as the store leader, he doesn't have to do that ultimately, but he is doing it, and he's doing it willingly because he wants to set the tone. And that was what I was going to say about your crew that everybody's coming into, is that your tone setter's got to set the tone. And if your tone setters aren't doing it, then you're sunk, right? Yeah. And that starts with you ultimately. Yeah. But as far as the communication within our stores, because we're smaller, I say smaller, you got maybe 20, 30 people throughout the day, but it's pretty easy to get everybody touched with a certain message. Yeah. But we don't have a Slack or things like that,
Yeah. I think, and this is actually Wanda, who is the CEO for Berkshire Hathaway, my company. She shared this at our meeting this week, our monthly sales meeting to our agents. But we normally start with the what and the how, right? And we very rarely in our organization do our people know the why. And that might be a whole nother podcast, probably is.
100%.
Right? Yeah, 100%. But I was thinking about that too, because you just take my plumbing team, for instance. I mean, they know what we're doing. Yes. And most of them know how to do it. Some of them might not. But none of them would be able to answer why we do it. Right. And then I'm like, so then I'm self-reflecting. I'm like, I could probably sit down for an hour and articulate why we're doing it, but I can't just shoot it off the top of my head. Yeah.
So you asked a little bit about communications with our company. We're just coming out of a training called McClaskey Process Excellence, which I would highly recommend for any business, no matter who you are. McClaskey, Dave McClaskey, just
classic,
a legend,
classic legend.
So you start, but you really start with
if you have a name like McClaskey, I mean you can't be a bum. Right? You can't be like, oh, the old drunk down the street, McClaskey. I mean, McClaskey means like you're going to be successful.
That's right.
Or you got to change your name.
That's right. You are a peak performer.
The McClaskeys would make you change your name.
That's right. That's right. So
sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. But where we started in this process of process excellence, which we got a long way to go in. Yeah. It's such an enormous journey. Come to find out, it's not something that happens overnight. No. But where you start is with mission. So a clear definition of your mission. But then from there, it's the internal marketing. We always think about marketing as an external process that we market out to customers. Well, there's a lot of internal marketing that needs to happen to your own team. Yep. So we start with, we have our mission, we have it clearly defined, and now we have we have places all throughout the organization where visually it's put up on the wall. And every once in a while I'll ask somebody, I'll say, hey, what's the mission? And when we first started this, David McClaskey said, go around to your team member, ask them what your mission is. How many of them can tell you what it is? Yeah. And it's pretty embarrassing because very few know, but now we've been working on it. We're having a meeting. Hey, what's the mission? Somebody nails it. You give them a $50 gift card. Next thing you know, more and more people start tuning into it. But what's been really exciting for us in the mission piece is that I've seen it be a magnet for our company, for people who are coming in to join our team. Yeah. Because they're attracted not just by what we do, because what we do is, as exciting as anything else, right? But the mission I'm finding to be a big time magnet for a certain type of person. But if you want to fulfill that mission, don't you want somebody who's attracted to that mission? who believes in what you're doing, who sees this as like, okay, right, this is a company, but we feel like there's something more going on. It's not just a place to come in, clock out, and go home. So I think the internal communication for us, to your point, having that mission all over the stores. At the new store, we've got a huge plaque at the very front where people are walking out. And it clearly says it, huge letters. And I think we need that at all the stores.
Yeah.
So that everybody and our customers can see this is why we do what we do, right?
Yeah.
So
do they hit it on their way out like the LSU football team says win?
You know, we could.
Yeah.
We could.
I think that's what we do. Yeah.
All right.
But no, I think that, and we're big on 4 disciplines of execution, which is a great book and a great system. And that's one point they make is people are attracted to a winning team. They want to be on a winning team. The problem is, and I'm preaching to the choir here, most of the people in our organization do not know what it looks like to win, or if they're winning. Like, they don't know if we're winning or not. So that kind of goes back to this marketing to your own team is, you have to celebrate or recognize the things that the outcomes you want to keep seeing. So, yeah.
I agree 100%.
It's a lot to do. Yeah, we need to wrap this up. I got a lot of work to do.
Well, yeah.
that's what I feel like right now. I'm like, all right, get out the pen and paper.
So very good. Very good points there.
Yeah. All right. I don't know if that was a tangent, but let's go on another one here. So his first one was it's always we and never me. His second one is seek excellence and not perfection. So that's tough.
I can say a lot on this because the process that we talked about, again, McClaskey Process Excellence. Please look him up if you're a business owner.
Yeah, he's a sponsor actually. He's $10,000 an episode.
Not yet. So the whole part of the journey is to build out process that is easy to manage, is easy to train, is easy to execute. Now, I've just said easy for all those things.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is that none of that is easy if your process design is poor.
Yeah.
So the process design really comes down to, have you defined this process in black and white terms? Okay, so have you made it to where either Leighton is doing this or he's not doing this?
Yeah.
We're eliminating the gray in this process. Because if I eliminate the gray, then I can watch you and I can say, yes, you've done this right, or nope, let's come back to the drawing board.
So it's not make it easy to do. The tasks aren't necessarily easy. It's easy to understand.
It's easy to understand.
There's clarity. And that's what that's a big thing. That comes from Donald Miller's program. It'll come to me in a second. But his big thing is the products that win are not the best. They're the ones that are easiest to understand, right? And he uses Apple as the example.
Absolutely.
He's like, Android's probably a better device, but Apple products are easier to understand, so they win.
There you go.
And so for our employees or our team, it's easy to understand, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing?
That's right. And so many times you get into situations, particularly within locations or maybe across your businesses, where it's really manager preference. Like this could be done a couple different ways, but it comes down to this manager likes it this way. Well, when that manager leaves and then another manager comes in, it's kind of the way he or she wants it done. And so that's gray. It's subjective. It's the idea that, Bob likes it this way, Sandra likes it that way. And at the end of the day, making something easy is that you've got a well-designed, well-documented process that it's not about what Bob or what Sandra prefers. At the end of the day, we all know, is Leighton doing this right or is he not doing this right? The challenge in putting this in is that it's very hard to get people to change when they've been doing things a certain way. So as we want to spread these processes all across our business, we're still on process number 1. I regret to say, 26 weeks later.
Okay.
One process. And it's not overly complicated.
So here's a question I have too, because this goes down to our philosophy, and I would say we probably are on opposite ends of the spectrum here. I kind of live in the gray.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't like defined rules. In fact,
Okay.
if you say, "Hey, this is how it has to be done," I'm going to push back on it.
All right.
Okay?
All right. Hey, listen, I'm happy to field these questions.
Like, you're very structured. So
Yeah.
here's where I'm thinking, right, is because what I want, the team I want around me are strong leaders, right? That they're empowered to lead.
Sure.
And so then how do you kind of give them the freedom to have some flexibility in a very black and white system?
Yeah. Well, this isn't exactly, I was climbing the hill to make my point about perfection.
Okay.
But what I would say is that it's very context specific. So in our small world, we are eliminating gray, and we're doing it for a very specific reason. We're doing it so that you would say it's restrictive, right? You're saying, hey, look, I want to play jazz. I want to play jazz. And here's the truth is that contextually that may be appropriate for your process, right? Yeah. Whatever you're doing, that may work. For ours, we take a lot of inspiration for somebody like Chick-fil-A, right? Rather than thinking about Home Depot or Lowe's, I always think about Chick-fil-A. Yeah. And so the amazing thing about Chick-fil-A that I don't think most people realize is because they are typically very, very successful from branch to branch, branch to branch to branch. You usually know what you're going to get wherever you go. If you're in Florida, if you're in Alabama, wherever it's always usually a very, very good experience. There's so much design in what they do. That doesn't just come out of the ground, right? It doesn't just come out of the ground for their cashiers to respond to you a certain way. It doesn't just come out of the ground for my pleasure to come out of their mouth. Yeah. One employee didn't come up with that and then everybody started doing it. No, it's a lot of process design in that. And you would say, well, it's very restrictive. It's restrictive in a sense because what they're doing is they've come to understand that certain restrictions lead to the best outcomes for their customers, which in turn lead to the best outcomes for their people. Sure. So for us, for a lot of the context of what we're doing, we want to emulate that model and saying, hey, following these steps will lead to the best outcomes for our customers. Yes, it restricts some behavior, but at the end of the day, who are we here to serve? Yeah. Right? Like, who is it for? Is it about us? Yeah. Because if it's about us, we can do whatever we want.
And for me, it's more of not because it's not because of their feelings, but it is to attract and retain top talent.
Sure.
In my experience, there has to be some give and take where they can bring their skills to the table rather than just be strictly a robot to the process. There has to be some, because if not, what I've found is those people go somewhere else, right? And so I can't remember what book it was, but they say, if you don't let an eagle soar, it's going to go soar somewhere else, right? And so for me, this is kind of the way that I view my leadership philosophy is my job is to draw the box, right? And then give some freedom in the box. So now that box can be really small in certain areas, right?
Yeah.
And the box needs to be well defined.
Right.
But then, for me, it's like, hey, I've given you the box. I'm empowering you. You go make this happen.
Yeah. And like I said, at the end of the day, the roles and the things that you have certain people doing, I think absolutely requires the ability to be empowered. I wouldn't ever take the word empowerment out of it. I would just, I'm viewing this more of a, hey, here's the checklist. There's certainly freedom within that checklist, but we want to make sure that these key things in this interaction are done. Yeah. Because, we want to make sure that we ask, hey, are you a member of our Best Rewards program? Yeah. Because it's just free money. Just take the free money. Yeah. And then if you're not, we want to ask, can I sign you up today?
Guess who never signs up? Me.
That's right.
Yeah, don't ask.
You know what? Listen.
Because usually what I found out is the person behind the register says, "Oh, you're not. Oh, well, here's this one. I'll just go ahead and scan that for you." Yeah. So not. It's not part of the process.
That is not part of the process, buddy.
Okay. But I would say, but your lens too, though, is you're looking through reproducible right?
Correct.
It's the process is easily
right.
reproducible.
That's right.
This person could put in their 2-week notice. We hire a new person.
Yeah.
It's very well thought out. And
Well, and you think about this too. You made a great point about, now we're talking about perfection versus excellence, but we're off on a tangent. But
Yep.
at the end of the day, when you have that process defined in a way that's, and this is what you come to learn, that you are not training and coaching near enough. And this was the big point I was trying to make. It takes a lot of training and a lot of coaching to get somebody to hit an 8-point checklist in a customer transaction. And you think 8 points, that's not hard. No, come to find out, we've been working on it for 26 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. It takes a lot of training. It takes a lot of coaching. It takes a lot of monitoring.
so this particular process is the interaction at the register
Correct.
with that person.
Correct. And we've been working on it a long time.
Okay. Let me ask you this. Is there an environment in your organization where someone on the team could critique your process?
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's so important to keep your ears open
Yeah.
to the feedback that's coming from people who are on the front lines.
Yeah.
I don't think you ever want to say that this thing is, on a stone tablet.
Or perfect?
Never.
Right?
Correct.
You take the
Correct.
philosophy we're talking about and apply it to one process.
Yeah.
There's never a perfect process.
Never. That's right. That's exactly right. Now, however, we do feel that, following the current process is going to lead to the best outcomes. And we're going to, we want to do our best to make sure that happens 100% of the time. But in chasing after the perfection, okay, in chasing after getting it to 100%, you never do.
Yep.
But the point that he's trying to make is that expectation or setting that focus for your team, you're so much better off by focusing in on a very high standard, a very high standard of how you want to deal with people and treat people.
Yep.
And if you don't deal with people, treat people this way, then, I'm sorry, but you can't do that here, right?
Yeah.
So I think that he makes a very strong point in that number one, as a leader, part of our role is to set that focus and set that intention on maybe not perfection, but excellence.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Google reviews for most small businesses, most of them are good, right?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Most of them are
Sure.
kind of fall into a bell curve, right? When you think about someone or some company that is truly excellent, meaning you're telling your friends that they blew my expectations away,
Yeah.
that this was an experience that I got to tell somebody, this is so good.
Yeah.
That's very hard to achieve because most people are in the middle, right? We all are. C students, B students. But that company that is just absolutely killing it, I think is only doing that because they've set their focus on excellence.
Yeah.
And they're they're trying to bring in the right people.
Yeah.
They're trying to work the right processes. They're very customer centric. And at the end of the day, they won't ever hit perfection. No one will. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
laughable. But if you don't wake up every day and say, I want to be excellent, you will never
Yeah.
be excellent. You may be good.
Yep.
And hey, listen, a lot of people can have a great life with good. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
Sure.
But what I'm saying is that if you want to be excellent, it takes a lot of work, and it takes the leader saying, we are going to be this.
Yeah.
Because if you say, I'm coming here to be good today, guess what? Everybody will be. They'll be good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that from a leader standpoint, one of the roadblocks to becoming excellent is you got to be okay with mistakes.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And
Yes.
I think that's part of a lot of leadership is twofold. One, either mistakes happen and the employees are, admonished for that or beaten down for that. And so now they're going to either hide that down the road, right? Or avoid taking steps, right? Well, I think that's the other side of it, right? Is that they're going to, I think it's paralyzing, or they go into hiding, or it's paralyzing, in that they're not going to take action because they're afraid to make a mistake. And so I think as a leader, the more we grow and expand, the more we have to delegate, the more decision makers we have in the organization, we have to be okay with more mistakes happening.